Hey, Michelle, what are we doing today?
Hey, Maddie. AI is kind of like permeating all aspects of our lives. So I thought that we could talk about that today, AI and college admissions, because I know you've got hot takes about this.
I certainly have takes. We'll see how hot they are.
So, really, I guess how we can start is I wanted to kind of share an article that I found in Education Week, and it's called One in Three College Applicants Used AI for Essay Help. Did they cheat? So, I guess that's kind of, is AI a tool? Or if you use AI, are you a cheater? And in this article, so there's a student who's a high school senior, and she's apparently cranking out 70 essays for her 20 college applications. And her creativity started to plummet a little bit, obviously, with writing 70 college essays. So she decided to try out AI. And the essay prompt asked her to describe a class that she'd want to teach if she was a college professor. And she had no idea what she was going to write about, right? So what she did was she fed that into AI. She fed the prompt into AI and her major and some topics, and then it gave her a bunch of potential courses. So she selected one, and then she crafted her AI essay around it. But she says she didn't use AI to actually write the essay. She just used it to get the topics for the essay. So with that, what do you think? Is that just using a tool, or are we crossing the line and is this cheating?
I guess it's only fair to tell you what my actual take on AI is to begin. So I something that people might find this podcast is I don't have like the usual or standardized takes on a lot of different topics. Why like this
That's
is
no surprise.
That's not surprised, but like this is a good example where it's not going to be like, well, it's about how students use it. It's a very no, 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 no. Here's what I think about AI. When it comes to AI, is there's three. I care about my job, Michelle. I care about college with Maddie. I care about the money I make and my ability to like buy groceries with my profession, and that's what AI is a threat to me. And that's really how I see it. It is a looming threat that a varying it's like a storm in the distance. I live in Oklahoma and like the sirens were firing like a year and a half ago, but they're no longer firing. There's still like, I don't know, they could fire again. Okay.
Well, here's an interesting stat too. So a third, a
Go ahead.
third, a third of high school. I don't want to throw another grenade into this, but a third of high school seniors who applied in 23-24 acknowledged using an AI tool for writing their essays, and half of those students, so 6%, used it to brainstorm. But another 6%, they actually like wrote their essays using AI.
Yeah. So we'll get to all that. I basically have there's three fears I have of AI. I fear it. However, there was a period I was terrified, and I'm now merely like very concerned and watching it like with like a rifle and binoculars because the one I have, okay, 0% fear is that I was joke is like students parents, instead of like hiring me or us, are going to be like, just use the computer, just like,
Right.
and you watch it like primarily like conservative immigrant parents be like, just do the chat GPT, just to put in the computer. Like that's never going to happen. That's not happening. Two, this was probably the most relevant what we're talking about is I'm never afraid I'm going to get beat, essentially. Like
Hmm.
I simply do not believe this technology is good enough, or it will be. Like it's very convenient that probably ChatGPT's biggest blind spot is the exact type of essay and content that college admissions looks for. It's self like reflective memoir style writing is what ChatGPT like doesn't and really can't ever be good at, because
Yeah,
it can never actually understand the person who is using it, what their life stories are, what their goals are, what their dreams are.
that's so
Um,
true.
and that's part of why college admissions is kind of like SpongeBob, like whew, I think is the big part of it, is that it just so happens that this kind of antiquated, like kind of goofy style of writing that these colleges went with 20 years ago is ChatGPT proof in a way.
Hmm.
Where I remember like some of the Canadian, I don't know, Canadian, like they're much more analytical. They like tell you like break down like a problem and write about it. Occasionally you'll like Cornell had a supplement that was like talk about an engineering problem in your community and how you would go about fixing it. And I remember seeing it's like ChatGPT is gonna body this question, you know, like it's actually like there's certain prompts and certain style of writing that ChatGPT does much better than others.
That's true.
And for the same reason that your average like high school history teacher or English teacher is freaking out, and I think correctly because they're screwed because like you can't like this is like going to defeat you and it's gonna get better and better.
Hmm.
You read ChatGPT stuff that like is for college admissions work, and it has a real stink to it. That's like ChatGPT stink is a thing, like that style of writing, and you kind of tell, especially when someone tells you it's ChatGPT. But it quite honestly, like some of the stuff I've read, it is better than a terrible essay. Like it is. It's merely like below. It's really like kind of boring and like kind of empty. However, it's playing at the top level. It's just not good enough. And I'm very much on the internet's like trying to figure out where ChatGPT is going, and what it's getting better at is not necessarily like writing. Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's user based stuff is for coders, it's for mathematicians, the stuff that's flexing. That like this is the new biggest thing. Like the part where it's like it can write a better essay. That I keep not hearing that. Like that doesn't seem to be where the focus is, and I get that because that's not really where the money is necessarily. Like it's in being able to do like honestly high level like math and science work.
Yeah, I think empty is a really good term. Like there doesn't seem to be like any soul in it. Where like where's the nuance?
Yeah, and but that I guess like I that's why I just think the work. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it beating me. I'm not afraid of my student not getting in because another student who used ChatGPT wrote a better essay that sniped that spot.
But yet it's getting more popular and more students are using it.
Yeah, and I'm constantly torn between am I correct that this isn't like the looming nightmare threat that I think it is, or am I the boomer now? Like, am I the old man who's like, it's just
Get
and
off
I
my
really
lawn.
get off. Well, it's just like okay, like computers. Nah, no one's you'll never be able to defeat the beauty of handwritten like scripture and like I do worry that this is when I finally become like the cranky old man who fails to adapt. Like my students don't use ChatGPT. I certainly don't like encourage them to it. If anything, like it's like for the lulz, like we'll put it through. There was like a ChatGPT skin that was like for college admissions
Hmm.
now, and I had students put it through it, and it was like, this is very good. And I was like, thank you, robot. You're right. Like, thank you, robot. But it was like for like, yeah, it's not a part of our process, and
Right.
I'm sure it could be, and but that would require me to integrate it. And quite honestly, I okay, but then there's the third one, which is, and this is the very real threat to my career. And quite
Hmm.
honestly, it is that these schools, in playing defense on ChatGPT, will like inevitably or kind of accidentally screw up my game plan. Like, and that could mean they downplay the value of essays. It could mean they suddenly have students coming in to handwrite essays. It could mean that they there's much more oversight into the assistant students are getting in essays, be some sort of box they have to check or they have to sign off the names of what the services they used, anything like that. Like any of that stuff either like causes me headaches or could completely radically negatively impact my ability to like run a college consulting business specifically related
Yeah,
to essays.
that would totally disrupt.
And that was why I was legitimately terrified of this program when it was coming out. Like, oh no, like the defense against it is I'm gonna get caught up in that in
Hmm.
this machine. I now have downgraded that to like monitoring. It goes back to number two that I think a lot of these school it's a combination of like ChatGPT is not that good at like this style of writing, and I think they've seen it, and also quite honestly the exact same arrogance, which is why I'm allowed to like do my job. That like just like there, I've found like quotes out there from very high level schools like consultants don't even help. And I'm like, great, I'm glad you think that. Or you can or you can catch me and you know. Okay, cool, awesome. I agree. Like keep thinking that ignore the man in the corner. It's the same arrogance that these schools are displaying. It's like we know, and if we don't, then we don't like it anyways. I'm like, great, awesome. Like don't be afraid of this massive world changing technology that is absolutely infiltrating your system. Like just pretend it doesn't exist until I retire. But that's my take on ChatGPT, and that's what I think of. I guess now we can talk about like students who use it and the pros and cons. But
Yeah.
my big take is that it is not an active tool in my toolkit I work on with students. I do like yeah, but my bigger thoughts about it, like they're more like those are my big thoughts about it, like how it affects my ability to do my job. However, I'm sure there's a lot more we can get and discuss of, and students who are using it or not, like there's more I could say. So like, what else you got for me regarding it?
Okay, well, what if one of your students fed their info into ChatGPT and they came back to you with like essay topics and they're like, "Hey, Mattie, some of these are kind of interesting. What do you think?"
I, th- I have no. I think that's happened.
Ooh, really?
That yeah, it was I don't want to dox the kid, but you knew him. How do I not dox the kid while still doxing him? He wrote about moving a lot.
Okay.
But it wasn't for his actual essays. He brought me some other thing he did, or like some other work he didn't see the point. And I was like, did ChatGPT do this? And he went, yeah. And I went, gotcha. And
You figured it out right away?
yeah, because it wasn't very good. And also it's more ChatGPT is always rough because like on one hand I want to be the I want to keep my head in the sand because it's much easier to pretend that this technology is not approaching. I get you want to know the scariest ChatGPT like things I played around ChatGPT. I have, and like I might
Hmm.
I'm. It turns out I'm not the like scared of technology boomer who's just like ignoring. I should, Charlie. Can you make sure you censor out when I use the B word? It's like basically like yeah like just I just said it twice. I'm gonna try not to, but censor it out just so you know. The B, yeah, the B word. I can't use that on air. It's rude. But basically, you want to know the most scared I ever was of ChatGPT, and I'm sure it will still work is I went on ChatGPT and it wasn't whenever I've done essay stuff, it's either been like, your essay is pretty good, it would work, or I've asked it for a college admissions essay and it speeds out like the hollow ChatGPT style essay that I'm familiar with. But when it scared me the most is early on, I was like, all right, ChatGPT, can you tell me the characteristics that colleges are most interested in an applicant?
Hmm.
And I went, of course, you know, and it gave me like overcoming adversity, demonstrating perseverance, connection to community, intellectual vitality, and on and on. And I went, okay, yeah. It's like, can you please order these and how relevant you think they are to get into elite universities?
Interesting.
And it was correct, is the best way I could describe it. And that is easily
Whoa.
that is easily the most afraid of
That
chat.
is scary.
Yeah. And I cannot, I wish I hadn't done that because like everything I say about like, my take is not that this is like a fad or it doesn't work. I like it is,
It's
yeah,
here to stay.
it's here to stay. Yeah.
Hmm.
That was early on. And I think that was before they they neutered it or like I don't know why, but I would be curious to do that, to do maybe as a for next week or next time I could do it again. But like you at home, go ahead and try. You know,
Hmm.
that one experience like kind of put the fear of God in me because this does know what it's talking about, at least in that regard. And now does it know what to do with that information? Probably not.
Right.
Nor does like a random student who asked us anything know what to do with it. But just that it was correct or that it matched my value system or my interest, that itself is based pretty much in fact because it's like I don't put these things together of like on accident. Um, What's the question again? Like ChatGPT gets me. I do. It turns out I do have things to say about this technology. Yes.
Oh, definitely. I figured you would. No, so okay, so you've already had at least one student bring you something that was generated by Chat GPT. And it's obviously increasing just in college admissions, but do you think kind of like in your own business that it's going to get worse, like that students are going to use it more and try to pass it off as their own?
Not really, no, because the nature of working with me, first of all, students who work with me, they sign a written agreement, and part of that is they don't use ChatGPT. And I think this like similar the nature of signing up with a guy like me who is very obviously trying to do a handcrafted thing.
Mhm.
I give students the benefit of the doubt that they wouldn't try to pull that. But I certainly understand the student who doesn't have like the consultant man or anything like that. And I like let me put it this way: the students who are doing this are the exact students that you might suspect will be doing it. They tend to be like I refer to them as the nerdy CS boy. And if you're listening at
Mm.
home, like you know who you are. And they do not like this process. They do not like creative writing. They do
Yeah.
not like writing about themselves. They do not like having a bunch of random crap that has nothing to do with robotics or programming that they have to do to be like that. To be fair, really will not be terribly relevant in their career path, and they're right. Yeah, it's a nerd like you know who you are, certain nerdy CS boy. I'm looking at you at the camera. I'm looking at you. Yeah, like shocker, they are the ones that are using this technology. Like it is not the the quiet like polite artist who writes poetry or the ultra high achieving teen girl boy who's like runs 9 clubs. Like no, like they're trying to do it the old fashioned way, if only because they know that's probably a more effective methodology. Like they're working with someone like me. Yeah, it's like it's not a shocker like the types of students who I believe are more likely to take such shortcuts. Um, and quite honestly, those students are usually not very strong writers, and they usually are not going to put in the time or energy they need to make a really strong, compelling application. And like the hollow, empty ChatGPT speak, if you can get away with it, full stop, it is better than a lot of college essays I have read because the ones you read
Mm.
online are also like not great, but they are usually polished in a way that either the student really tried or got help. Like ChatGPT, the same student using ChatGPT, that does not mean they were going to create some like fabulous like detailed like powerful essay on their own. They were gonna like crank out crap, which is why they're cheating in the first place. So I hope schools continue to not think this is a real thing because that's my big take is because it's the exact same like it's arrogance. It's the exact same tone that I hear when hearing about guys like me. It's that it's like or parents help or whatever. It's like well we can tell and it's like okay
Hmm.
it's like, we can tell or it's like well that's the big one. It's like well, we can tell and it's like okay but I don't believe you because you've been saying that about me and my profession, people like me for the last 20 years. And I used to joke like either you can't tell when I've helped or like you do and don't care, let my student in anyways. And like that exact same mindset, like maybe that's why it's called because like I am help, like
Yeah.
I'm not ChatGPT, but I am a external tool of like mysterious value and that specifically helps students create powerful essays to get into college. And now there is a robot that is like doing the same thing, just maybe not as well, but like easily accessible.
Hmm.
And I hope people listen to this is like a little bit more helpful than like it's all about how you use it. You could use for idea generation. Like no, like
That's what I'm going to add. Like, do you have, is there a line for you? Is it okay to check like your grammar or like spitting out ideas for something?
I thought something. I use the website or the service Grammarly, which once upon a time I was a huge fan of, and now Grammarly flew too close to the sun. Both because I internalized all the actual like Grammarly taught me how to write. Full stop. Like that's how I learned how grammar and spelling. I didn't know this until I've been working as a professional college consultant for like 2 years. Like don't tell anyone. But Grammarly actually like taught me how to write. When I really liked about Grammarly was not that it like just dinged all my stuff, but that it would ding the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, like the same problem. So I was like, fine, I obviously need to fix this. And now you may have noticed like I am a weirdo about grammar. They're like, if you're doing there was one I sent you an email. It's because like Grammarly dinged and I was like, this isn't gonna happen. Like not like this, like
Right.
no, like you need to know this too. But then I learned internalized all of Grammarly's work that it really wasn't that helpful anymore. And then the
Mm.
signal started outlisting, the noise started outpacing the signal because Grammarly's always had a bunch of weird, crappy edits on it, but that was made 10 times larger by the fact that Grammarly was getting like suddenly getting outpaced by this ChatGPT, and suddenly they have to be ChatGPT. They have to have AI processing in it, and it's absolutely atrocious. Like, sorry, Grammarly, I'd love to have you as a sponsor, but like like that is probably my biggest actual on the ground like approaching of like AI software is the Grammarly implementation of it,
Hmm.
and it's really quite terrible. To the point where I don't know if ChatGPT is that much better. Also, I think it's like this is a little news you can use. I believe that is why a lot of students are getting dinged for like AI checking like plagiarism software is they are
Oh, okay.
using not just using ChatGPT, but they are like using its full recommendations, which is just ChatGPT, where it's like, hey, would you like to rewrite this entire paragraph but for it to be soulless
And then just
and
say yes.
and also suck, but also be 3 words shorter because that's better writing apparently. And they go,
Mm-hmm.
hell yeah, brother! Click, 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 and then they cannot believe that their piece got banned for checking software. Like,
Ah, that's a good point. Yeah.
what was the original question? Like, yes, it turns out
Do you have a line? Like some this would be okay, but like if you've done this, you've crossed the
it's not
line.
that I don't have a line. It's my system that I work with students doesn't really incorporate. And last year I had a student that last year I was like I'm curious about it. I had a student who was really into. He was the one who wrote about you can guess which student last year was really into ChatGPT. Like he was following like the drama of Sam Altman or what have you.
Okay.
Yes, like he did, it worked out well, but like yes, it was him. Was
Okay.
like not a nerdy CS boy, just like the other type, like the Pokemon evolution of nerdy CS boy. um he was fascinated by like that world, and like we tried
Interesting.
using it, and I ChatGPT and I do the same thing. Like maybe that is why I don't have like the best takes on how to use it effectively because it like what I do with students is we work one on one and I help them come up with a topic and then I help them like outline it and I build a full outline and I fed that outline into ChatGPT and it leads to a pretty strong essay, like very well written, which again makes me like, made me realize like, oh no, I'm doomed. But then, well, I also had to help the student come up with a cool topic and like a theming device and build an outline that's meant to be used by kind of like any number of writers at different levels to write a structurally strong, like well-written essay that has like quotes in it and stuff. And it's not a shock then that like ChatGPT can do that too. So like ChatGPT both can kind of handle my job, but it can also kind of handle the student's job all in one. And it's difficult for me to then like give like, here's 5 tips about how you use it,
Hmm.
because it's not like don't, it's more, I guess my overall advice on ChatGPT is understand what its limitations are and really read what it spits back at you. Both because then that doesn't even get into the problem of like of it being caught like by detection software. It's like
Right.
what even is okay. And these schools are, I don't even think they know. Like this thing really was sprung on us. This is a massive issue in academia. Like there's another version of this podcast where we're English teachers and we are freaking out because like this really is like doomsday for them, because
Yeah.
that the difference between write about like a community you involve with and what it means to you versus like tell us about Huck Finn. It's like the internet doesn't have information about the student. Like it can't scan a bunch of Reddit posts about like you necessarily, and that is where it falls apart.
Yeah. And I guess where do you see like colleges and kind of their responsibility with this as well in the college admissions process? Because they're kind of just all over the place with this. So, like, in one of Yale's last podcast, where the admissions officers come and talk about it, they basically said if you submit personal statements or other written application responses that are composed by ChatGPT, you have violated your affirmation statement. But the director of the Office of Undergraduate Admissions for the UCs, they say we just want to be sure students are using it as a tool to help them craft their responses. So they seem like, hey, maybe it's okay. And Rick Clark from Georgia Tech, he actually says if you use it properly, it might actually increase your chances of getting into Georgia Tech. So all of these different opinions, like, what do you?
Yeah, and you can directly compare that to how these schools handle the Supreme Court decision and affirmative action. That's what I was thinking of reading a
Mhm.
lot of these things. Is That's a different topic entirely, one that is definitely not related to AI necessarily.
That's going to
However,
be a future episode.
yeah, we're going in. We're going in. There's no rules here. We don't like, we're on our own. We can talk about whatever the hell we want. Yeah, like that was that one. Every single school that in America basically seemed to have like some sort of internal meeting. It was like, how do we handle this? And they all led to the same different problem. Yeah, that is its own topic. Like it was a coordinated maneuver. Similarly, when COVID happens, like there was a coordinated movement. Like these schools kind of come together and made big decisions about how to handle this. There is no coordinated movement towards this ChatGPT because all these schools have their head in the sand, because we can tell. Like that's what I keep going at. It's like that energy or that mindset. It is, I guess, the different, like it's hard. Like, yeah, these schools don't really know what they're up against, and
Yeah.
they don't want. And again, like I don't really want them to, because like they don't know what they're up against with me. Like that's like like I am the robot in a lot of ways. And yeah, like that is a great. I like that you brought up those like incredibly contradictory, like frustratingly different responses. And my big take is that ChatGPT can be used to actually, if you actually want to use it, if you don't want to, don't,
Hmm.
like no one's making you. It's not, you're not going to get a huge edge. Um, I do understand like for topic generation, idea generation, it's almost similar to like Wikipedia for me, where it's like you shouldn't quote or cite Wikipedia, but you can cite the sources on Wikipedia. It's a similar energy that if you if you're the type of student that's already using ChatGPT and likes it, please resist the temptation to just like have it right for you and then like paste it in, because you will get caught. Like don't do that.
Right.
But basically, yeah, like using it the way like that's the thing is like the students who are good at this program are not necessarily the best writers. They are the people who understand technology. And I'm very strong writer who has a above average understanding of technology, but not an excellent one, is where I would put myself. Like I know of ChatGPT and know how to use it. But I've learned that like to really engage with it, like the more specific you could be, to the point where like you're giving it like a nickname and telling it like what it's like strong at, like that is all helpful. Basically, the amount you use ChatGPT should depend on how much you really want to and your understanding of how to use it. However, the problem is, I really believe the students that are most likely to use it are most likely to try to use it to cut corners and get caught, kind of thing.
Interesting.
This is where balancing act, where the same student who would just do the way I recommend, which is like to come up with topic ideas or to help it with grammar or to help like feed in an outline, read it, and then write your own essay that is not going to get caught by plagiarism detectors, which is probably what I would do if I wanted to use it. Like basically, like that's the same student who'd be willing to like follow those rules. I'm not sure is going to like be using ChatGPT in the first place. They're just going to write their own essay and have like someone help them with it, like the old school way. So there's this balancing act. If you were ever copy and pasting like entire content from ChatGPT into something you were going to submit, I think that's a big mistake
Hmm.
because yeah, like my bigger takeaway is like don't get caught. Like I don't really and the fact that you just read like admissions officers or they're officers in this case basically being like they can't even make up their own mind. Like it is kind of fair game, and you're right, like the fact that these schools have not come together and had some like kind of unified or clear response directly compared to how they very much had a clear response to like how they're gonna handle affirmative action stuff. um it's kind of open rules, like don't get caught is kind of my overall advice if you want to use it. It's you do not have to use ChatGPT. No one is making you, and you are probably you're I can't even say you're probably better off for it. Like if you want to write the essays you think you probably could do better in ChatGPT. If you don't like writing, or like yeah, like you probably have a better chance of getting in, is my honest opinion, versus spending that same like limited time and energy writing crappy essays that you don't care about. Like, however, I don't think either is going to work at the tippy top level. And this almost goes back to the last episode, that if you have the stats or GPA to get into schools, like it's not that hard. You just have to like not write anything stupid. Like that's where ChatGPT could save the day. However, just sitting your ass down and spending 3 hours in writing your best essay and having your mom edit it, that will also get you into the vast majority of schools if your GPA and test scores are where they need to be. At the top level, it's really quite difficult. And I'm glad, I guess, my first year in 2020, I actually struggled with students like at the tippy top level, like like at your Harvard, Stanford. Yeah, like I got locked out, and I knew I did something wrong, and that was like a big impetus for me really figuring out like a system to get into those schools, which then led to it working. And I guess I'm kind of glad that happened because it made me realize that like there is a path into these, and you do have to do it correctly. And I
Hmm.
guarantee you, ChatGPT does not have that answer for you. Like it simply doesn't do it. And just like, yes, I do have opinions
I
about
told
the.
you I knew you were going to.
I'm always going to have opinions about everything, Michelle. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going off what we're talking about with having access to Chat GPT, like, do you think that makes the college admissions process maybe like more accessible or fair because students have this tool? Maybe they can't afford, a consultant or anything like that, but they've got this kind of tool at their disposal. Or is there kind of like a boundary where maybe not at the tippy top schools?
So this almost leads into a overall like apology I'm gonna have for like this podcast. Is I don't know the whole world of college admissions. Like I mentioned in the past episode, like I have a pretty specific group of students I really get to know, and quite honestly, that group tends to be on the more affluent side by nature of being able to hire someone like me. And a question like that makes me be like, oh yeah, like what about people who can't afford some asshole to like fucking and my take is my initial take is like, well, no, like the people it's benefiting are nerdy CS boys, and I do stand by that because that transfers different like income and economic stat. Like, there's a lot of gaps that nerdy CS boys can transfer through. I do believe that they are the ones who really benefit the most from this, if only because using ChatGPT is a skill in of itself to create content with it. Like it is not isn't
Right.
maybe maybe that's the episode that like students were expecting, but like I don't use it, so like I don't know how to use it that well, quite honestly. Um, I don't know, and that might be something interesting. Is like if you're a listener, if you are lower income and you're using ChatGPT not just because like you like computers and don't like to write, how has that treated you? Is that if you felt like that has given you like allowed you to kind of keep up in this crazy race? I would like to hear from that student if you're listening to this.
And especially like in your last episode where it's like, it's hard. This whole process is hard. So if you have that tool, does it make it a little bit easier for you?
If you are that student, if you're a middle or lower income student who is trying to get into elite schools but does not have the resources for someone like me, is sick of like crappy online advice, and ChatGPT you've engaged with it, I would like to know how you have done so and if it has been helpful in a way that might kind of supplement or replace a guy like me in the first place. I would like to know because I have no idea what your experience is like by the nature of who I work with. So yeah, let me know.
And so, last question that I want to kind of throw at you is okay, so we're talking about this, Chat GPT tool. We're talking about how colleges, they can't even figure out what they think about this. But nearly 25% of students who are admitted to Harvard, their class of 2027, paid a private admissions consultant for help with their applications. So, is this a double standard?
Yeah, this is a infamous statistic that goes back, like, I know I was writing about it 3 or 4 years ago, and it's kind of shrouded in mystery. And depending on who you ask, it's either like slightly high or like way too low, or it's either like 20. It's like just like 20 to 70% is actually the range, from what I understand. And it's a bit messy because like a lot of different consulting can mean a lot of different things. You know, like I'm a full package, you know, from middle of June to New Year's with you, you know, like it's a whole thing. There's also people who like go on Wizant and hire someone for an hour or two.
Hmm.
There's SAT coaches or what have you. And I am not going to sit here and say that the college admissions process is fair, especially when it comes to economic, like the economic backgrounds of students who are applying. Like I am very expensive, and I'm not overpriced. I'm just very expensive. They're different, and I completely understand that I the fact that I'm comparing myself to the robot in a very like self-aggrandizing way. Like I understand that not everyone can afford for this version of the robot. ChatGPT is free. And like that's maybe why I would like to hear from students who are using ChatGPT for that reason, because they can't afford a guy like me. Like that is a big blind spot in my understanding of this process. Like I only, you ask, like my students don't use it because they don't have to, I guess. Or they're not
Right.
interested. They have me instead.
And you don't have to disclose that you're using an admissions consultant either.
Correct. And that's why I'm terrified of ChatGPT, me getting swept up. And it really would be me getting like a little bug being swept up in a much bigger defense. Like these schools don't care about me.
Right. We don't hear admissions officers saying, we'll catch you if you have a consultant, but they're very vocal about ChatGPT.
They say they already do, or if they do, it doesn't matter. It's like the narcissist prayer, but for like, so whenever I read the, like, but if it did, it didn't work. And if it did, we caught it. And if we didn't, then it wasn't that good anyway. What was the original question though?
Well, do you think it's a double standard where, you know, they're really coming, some of these colleges are coming down hard on ChatGPT, but you know, it's very murky about using a college consultant.
This is, I guess, wait and see is how I feel about all this. Is that ChatGPT is having its like second birthday in a couple months. ChatGPT as we know it, you know, is like, hey, you can write essays with this. It's coming up on, it's only 2 years. We are in the infancy of, you know, ever since the internet, everyone's been trying to see the next big thing. It was Bitcoin, or it was VR technology, or it was NFTs or whatever. And like, this is definitely the best new challenger since the internet came around, of like what's actually going to change the world. And college admissions is, I think, fun in general because it is a tiny little bizarre slice of what makes like the America, or the world. Is like every facet of really, yeah, I would say American or world life, like finds its way into college admissions, because of course it does, because it is the Monopoly Junior. It is the 17-year-olds that are trying to enter the workforce, and trying to enter and are competing to do so with their parents' help. Like obviously everything that is important is going to somehow find its way into this process. And that's why we will have we're having this conversation again 5 years from now, and it'll be completely different. Like that's my big takeaway. And that is why I was terrified of ChatGPT, because I was afraid these schools were going to like full sail make a big decision that was going to clamp down on me somehow to fight it. No, they have taken the like it's not that big a deal path, which I'm actually very happy about, because that's why it is now just a storm in the distance. But that can absolutely change.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna wait and see on that and what it leads to.
And so when we talk about this again in 5 years, like where do you see this? Is it going to be, you know, students have to go to the university and write their college essay? Like what's the future of this?
Crystal ball is it's going to be this continued uneasy truce, quite honestly. And it is because very conveniently, and schools are very conveniently for schools as well, the nature of what college admissions essays are, simply ChatGPT is bad at that. And it's a very lucky coincidence that these schools picked a genre of writing or like criteria that simply ChatGPT cannot do. And like no matter how good the writing gets, you cannot have a robot that is scanned on libraries of past information know what the thoughts and opinions and experiences of the person using it is. Like that there is no, so in the next 5 years for at least. I also simply believe that everything I read about the future of ChatGPT, what they're bragging about, the fact that it gets better at writing doesn't seem to be a high priority. And maybe that is because that is very difficult, and maybe not what the people who are like the power users of it are like clamoring for. But that simply is not what seems to be the hot new thing. Like what if anything, ChatGPT is just getting worse at actually writing stuff because they keep neutering it or making it hallucinate. yeah, like I hope my takeaway has not been like this is no big deal, right? Like ChatGPT is just it's not a fad. It's not I don't because it doesn't perfectly match what college admissions is, and because the people in charge, it is much easier for them to pretend it's not really happening. My guess is what really is continuing to build is the war between students using it and the ability to detect it. That like plagiarism detector, stuff like that technology is moving just as fast, if only because there's just as much money in that. And again, like I'm sure there's a podcast with two English teachers that has a very different tone. Where this thing, like that is my my overall thing with ChatGPT is like, I'm glad that I'm not an English teacher. I'm not a history teacher because that is terrifying. Like the world is ending for those people because if I was a high schooler, I'd use ChatGPT for an English essay. Like I would, because or just like, if only to just like get quotes or whatever. I would not use it to apply to college on my own because I would not trust it. And that is that is just me personally as a writer, but someone who understands technology that well. Like that is the difference, and maybe why I sleep okay at night, at least will for the next 5 years, I think.
And I think, I would love to talk to you on a future episode, about ChatGPT or AI tools and how colleges are using them. Like you said, being able to detect or even to make their lives easier.
I want to come back to this because I want to do something I mentioned. I would like to find some outlines, like something we're going to start doing is talking more about actual student work and actually showcasing it. And I would like to do the same experiment I've done with students where I'll find an old outline that I think is solid, like an old UC outline from a couple of years ago. I got permission to use because that's all coming. I need to get permission for all this stuff. And we will feed that outline into ChatGPT.
Ooh, interesting.
And we'll do the whole prompt. We'll be like, please convert this outline to a 350-word essay suitable for admissions in the University of California. And it'll go, of course. And then I'll feed it in, and then I can have you read both that one and the actual UC essay we submitted. And I think that will be very informative of kind of a lot. We'll say that will be like 6 episodes from now. We'll do that again because it sounds fun.
Yes.
But I need to get permission to use all my student stuff. By the way, students, this is why I need to use your stuff. Please fill out the questionnaire. I'm going to be emailing you all.
Well, I told you were going to have some hot takes, and you definitely did.
Yeah, and maybe that's why this topic is not that there is no like. So that's all that we covered AI and college admissions because like the new ChatGPT like format's coming out in 2 months, and like maybe we can talk about it again. It's like wait and see. And I go back to there is binoculars and a rifle is like how I feel about ChatGPT. I'm sitting on my porch and I'm staring at it every once in a while, not panicking, there's no alarms, but it's still there. And I think that's going to probably be like how it feels for the next 5 years, at least. It's going to be that cold stalemate. That's how I feel about it. Where we are in 20 years, if I could tell you that, I'd be a billionaire because I could figure out a lot like more profitable ways to harness it if I knew what it was actually going to be in 20 years, but I don't. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, stay tuned. Stay tuned for more episodes when we tackle AI and who knows what coming in the future.
I look forward to it. See you next time.
See ya.
Thank you for watching College with Mattie. For more information or a coaching session with Mattie, visit collegewithmattie.com. You can follow College with Mattie on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Tune in next week for more episodes, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.